Hey guys, what's going down? We are having some technical difficulties. Not even sure if I'm really live just yet. I am trying to figure this out. Okay, looks like I am live. What's up, everybody? Okay, give me 1 second, people. If you are live here, Louisa, can you start redirecting? Okay, give me 1 second, guys. If you guys are able to join, we had a little technical difficulty and we are good now. Hopefully people are going to be able to jump on the stream for this verbal lesson. I see we got some people joining now. Sorry for the mix up, everybody. I'm going to repost in Discord as well. Hold on. Okay, here we go, guys. 1 second. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So sorry for the mix-up. So sorry for the problem. Okay, 1 second. Give me 1 second, everybody. Dan is joining. All right, cool. What's up? Dan is here. Okay, we had some technical issues. I'm just letting people know in Discord where we are right now. So give me 1 second, everybody. Dan, what's going on? Sorry about this.
Yo, we thought we were live 10 minutes ago, and Josefa gave me the most flattering introduction of all time, and no one saw it. I hope that's recorded so we can get back to it.
It's recorded somewhere, yes.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys. This is the first time we're doing this format and obviously some hiccups. So welcome. Thanks for saying hi. I want to start with an icebreaker. We'll get started and we'll give people a minute just to show up, and then I want to get rolling because what I'm going to talk to you about today is it's amazing. It's like I think it's the most important session of the entire series, and it's basically how to read at an elite level. And where I would like to start, drop in the chat the last thing you read that you actually enjoyed. So I'm not talking about the reading for school that you have to kind of quickly get through to pass a quiz. What's the last thing you read? It could be an article, short story, book. Do people read books anymore? I don't think so. Tell me, what's the last thing you read that you enjoyed? And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's kind of quiet in the chat, because I think a lot of people are reading less and less, which is a shame. And especially the people that are showing up to this session are probably not reading very much at all. Like, let's call out the elephant in the room. The reason you aren't getting an elite score on the verbal SAT is you're probably not an elite reader yet. Notice I say yet. You're probably not an elite reader yet. And if you can come to terms with that and just like not get too self-conscious, it's okay. Like I got your back. If you can say like, I am not an elite reader yet, we can actually do some real deep work here today, where you look at yourself in the mirror, like, what am I spending my time doing when that science passage is in front of me? Let's see, there's some chat. Arda read Atomic Habits. Great book. James Clear, love it. Identity Building Habits, highly recommend the book. I love that book. That genre, by the way, Arda, is probably my favorite. I love personal growth. Josefa's the same way. We just always working on ourselves and trying to, up level. Love that book. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Cole, I'm seeing David Goggins speak in LA this fall. I'm a huge Goggins fan. I actually, at 34 years old, started doing endurance stuff. I'm 37 now. I took a bike ride around Lake Tahoe. I was inspired by that book too. Love it. The Alchemist. Matthias, I actually love that book. And I think it's great that you read it. And I think it like touches the soul. And when we do our tutoring session, Matthias, we can talk about it a little bit more. I will say that falls into the category of books that I like and are enjoyable, but I don't think that's going to make you a better reader. I think Harry Potter's in that genre as well. Like, I love Harry Potter. I don't think it's going to make you an elite reader, mainly because it's not hard enough. It's not hard enough. The comp thing, it's kind of simple sentence structures, that kind of thing. So I love that you read that. And I'd push you to go harder for your next book. Osama doesn't remember. Last time I read was 2 years ago. Thank you for your honesty. Oh yeah, Muella, welcome to the live session. Feel free to jump in and participate. We're just dropping in the chat. Last thing that we read that we liked. Um, Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg, Huzefa. I know him. He was a parent at a school I used to teach at. I love that book. Really cool. And 100 Degrees or something. Is that a book? I don't actually know that one. All right, so here's the deal. Winging the DSAT reading was the best decision I made. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, IDKY, you can let me know. Here's the deal. I'm going to operate under the assumption that if you're here, you're not reading at an elite level. If you were reading at an elite level, you'd get a 750 plus on the digital SAT. You wouldn't need to be here. If you're not reading at an elite level, it's okay. And I'm going to give you some stuff that is going to help. Let's dive right into it. This is all, by the way, from my my course my e-course that I made up. It's called Reading for Non-Readers. I usually sell it for about $300. I'm going to take you through the actual course. I'm not holding anything back. I think this message is so important that I just like shout it from the rooftops. Like, how do you read well? And here's what I got. Last week, we started with what bad reading looks like. And I gave people some time to read this potentially boring passage. So what I'll ask you to do is take 15 seconds and read this passage as far as you can. You might not get through the whole thing. 15 seconds, and just notice what happens in your brain and your body. 15 seconds. Okay. And, let's be honest. If these thoughts entered your mind, nerd alert, what am I doing tonight? Who cares about college anyway? Why do I have to take this dumb digital essay? If those thoughts pop up, that's bad. That's what bad readers do. And good readers sometimes get these thoughts, but they move on from them really quickly. And what I want to do today, the main event of today, is to give you something to do instead. So instead of having these thoughts that are not productive, like, ooh, I wonder if I'll get into Stanford, whatever. What do good readers do? And I mentioned this a little bit last week, and we'll go much, much deeper this week and start to apply it to real digital SAT passages. One of the things good readers do is they create mental images. The bottom line, and if you are taking notes or screenshots, write this down. For some reason, people miss the memo on this. I think early on, like in high school, I didn't really realize this. So I don't mean to look down on people that don't know this, but elite readers have an experience when they're reading. What does that mean? Well, when they're reading about hydrogeology and rocks, they're seeing the rocks, they're feeling the rocks, they're tying it to their personal experiences, they're feeling excited or judging, like all these things are happening. And basically 99 times out of 100, if you're missing reading questions, you're not having enough of an experience. You're not reading deeply enough. I won't say 99 out of 100. There's like this whole side of things about answering the questions, but man, 80 times out of 100, you're not having enough of an experience. So we'll look at some text. I'll teach you how to have an experience, and it's going to, I think it'll change your life. If you like chew what I'm putting out there, it has the potential today more than any other day in this course. It has the potential to change your life because it'll make you a better reader. It'll make you enjoy reading more. Imagine that. Imagine enjoying reading. And some of you are already rolling your eyes like, oh, my English teacher says this, but she's a nerd, whatever. It doesn't have to be books, right? In school, you read books mainly. Books take, for quick readers, 6 to 8 hours, sometimes 10-hour commitment, 15-hour commitment, which actually, I don't think that that's such a huge commitment. Some people do. If you don't feel ready to tackle a book yet, that's fine. I'll mention some articles, some short stories, some poetry, and we're even going to start today with just individual sentences, how to have an experience when you're reading an individual sentence. And if you can look at this, pyramid, which I made up, the Dan Lerman pyramid of reading, and figure out where you're at and figure out where the next step is, I think this whole experience becomes less intimidating, less scary, and more fun. Jose and I are both big believers in like follow the fun. We enjoy these tests. We legit enjoy these tests. You can watch um, our videos where we take these tests, and yeah, we're focused, we're locked in, we're not like having a laughy jokey time, but we're enjoying ourselves. And I challenge you today to find part of today's class at least where you can enjoy yourself. All right, so let's take a look. This goes in chapters. We're not going to get through all the chapters today. I'm not sure how far we're going to get. We'll go to the top of the hour, but this first move, I'm going to give you 5 moves that I'm going to call the Reading Toolkit. It'll make you a better reader, not weeks from now, not months from now. It'll make you a better reader today. The first move of the 5 is called world making. How does this work? Well, the idea is basically you take words and you create mental image that you experience with all of your senses. So it's not just seeing. It could be hearing, smelling, tasting. What's the one I'm missing? Feeling? Did I say feeling? You know the 5 senses. That's the goal of world making. Take words and create an experience. And guess what? This experience is entirely in your control. So if you create a boring one, it's your fault. I'll say that again because it's such an important point. And it's a rude awakening. It's a harsh truth, but that's kind of what I do best and why people love working with me. If you are getting bored on the digital SAT reading section, it's your fault. Your fault because it's your system that you're reading and you're creating. And there's another way. I'll show you the other way. So what is world making? It's creating a world using all of your senses and then hanging out in that world. It's all aimed at having an experience. Ooh, this is a cool little video. I'd like to hang out in that world a little bit. Reading can be the same way. When you read things, you can hang out in a world of your own creation. And it's fun. Why is it fun? My mentor once said, I don't know, like, why is jumping in a lake fun? I don't really know, but it is. Why is reading fun? I don't really know, but it is if you do it the right way. And if you've not been having a fun experience, you've been reading incorrectly. World making will help you fix that. So let's take a look. Here is one singular sentence of text. And if you can't get through this sentence without grabbing your phone and texting and getting bored, I don't know what to tell you. You're kind of lost. But most of you will be able to do this. So I want you to take, let's say, 20 seconds to read this and create a mental image in your brain in as much detail as possible. Go. And if you want to describe it and put it in the chat, I'll respond and tell you if I think, I mean, there's not really a wrong answer here. It's just, are you detailed enough? So if you haven't thought about it yet, what is the old man wearing? What does he look like? What does his hair look like? Is he smiling? Make decisions on that. The handful of dust, what color is the dust? And he sifted it through his fingers. What does he drop it? Like more specifics, the better. That's what world making is. So here's some questions that can help you get more specific. Where is he? What color is the sand? What do you hear? Smell? Feel? This one sentence, you can make a world out of it. And that's a key aspect of reading. You can make worlds where you probably haven't been making worlds before. So here's the deal. I'm going to set the timer. I'll give you, let's say, 30 seconds per line here. I want you to try and have an experience for each one. 30 seconds for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'll set my timer for 2.5 minutes. Slow down, folks. Everyone today is just speeding through things and not actually reading. Slow down, 30 seconds per line of text, and have an experience, and then we'll chat about it. If you're not at number 3 yet, go for number 3. Keep having a new experience every time. What do you see? What are the specifics? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you feel? I think taste was the one I forgot before. The last 2 are from famous books and might pop up on a digital SAT. They're using a lot of famous texts nowadays. I wouldn't be surprised to see either of these pop up on the digital SAT. Okay, and take one more minute. In this last minute, pick your favorite one and type into the chat. The more specific, the better. If you're directing a movie, what does the movie look like? What experiences are you having? Any one of these, go for it in the last 45 seconds here. Okay, take 20 seconds to finish up. And if you found yourself in the last 2.5 minutes before getting through all of these, reaching for your phone, opening up a tab, looking around, like you probably have an attention issue. I'm not going to die like that. I'm not even going to talk about diagnosis. You have an attention issue that can be improved. Like you need to focus for longer periods of time. And part of that is making this pleasurable. How do you make this pleasurable? So let's take number 5. I love number 5. I read 1984. Still remember where I was. I was in 10th grade in Barcelona on a family vacation. I was reading this book. It changed my life. And this is the first line of 1984. Outside, I'll just take you through my mind as I reread it. I have a new experience every time I read this. Outside, even through the shut window pane, the world looked cold. Okay, so I'm envisioning myself in this like apartment building I used to live in Durham, North Carolina, with high ceilings, kind of a cold building, quiet, like where are all the people? Down in the street, little eddies of wind were whirling dust and torn paper into spirals. I actually have never heard this term, eddies of wind. No problem. It must mean like gusts of wind. Down in the street, gusts of wind were whirling dust. I'm seeing the dust, like sand, actually. Some of the sand that I was thinking about from the old man part, like before. The whirling dust and torn paper, I'm seeing like a white receipt in a spiral. And through the sun was shining, and though the sun was shining and the sky a harsh blue, there seemed to be no color in anything except posters that were plastered everywhere. So I'm hearing nothing. It's kind of creepy. And then maybe some footsteps in the background, and I'm seeing these posters that are plastered everywhere. And I zoom in, and it feels kind of scary, eerie, creepy. That was a really pleasurable experience for me, guys. I enjoyed it. All of my attention, 100% of it, was focused on actually reading. And if you do that, you'll become a better reader right away. So please, I would love to see, share in the chat. What did you notice? Yeah, Cole, I love yours. It's winter and there's a winter storm. The sun is bright, but didn't help with the cold. No color. Everything was white. Good. And how does that feel to step into that world for a moment, Cole? Think about that. And that's what the author's trying to get across. He's trying to make you feel like creeped out by this world. Cool. Martin is seeing a blue sky, bright stars. He's walking in slow motion. Good. And I would encourage you, Martin. Who is he? What does he look like to you? Is it you? Is it your dad? Is it your best friend? Is it Brad Pitt? Like, take your pick, whatever. It's your movie. Enjoy it. Osama for the second one. Yeah, I like it. What does Mount Everest look like to you, Osama? Are you like an omniscient narrator? Are you looking from the bottom? I'm pushing all of you. Be more specific. Be more specific is going to help this whole process. Okay, so this, I drew this myself. You'll see, as I stack, I'm going to stack 5 moves on top of each other. I think we'll get through all 5 of them today. As I stack these moves, I have a little image for each of them. So what is world making? You're here and you're making all of these images. Maybe these are some smells and some birds and you're hearing things. That's world making. I think you get it. Let's move on. What else can you do besides world making? This next move is called personalizing. I've done it a little bit already. I wonder if anyone's noticed. I think it's a power move when you're reading. Personalizing is basically taking what you read and applying it to your life. Taking what you read and applying it to your life. So I read this line of poetry from Emily Dickinson, famous poet, wasn't famous till after she died. Kind of interesting. I felt a funeral in my brain. I'm reading that. And what I'm visualizing is being at a funeral. My older cousin Irv, I went to his funeral a couple of years ago. I'm visualizing myself at that funeral, my own life. And then I'm zooming out and that image is in my brain. I don't know where this is leading, by the way. Like, I'm not trying to control the experience. I'm just applying it to my life. So that's what personalizing is, applying it to your life. So let's do this again. Sit up straight, take a deep breath, and pick one of these. If one doesn't hit for you, go to the next one. Pick any one of these. And think about what it reminds you of in your life. I'll give you a minute to do that. I'll ask for you once you figure that out. Drop it in the chat. What does this remind you of in your life? And it could be just a setting or a moment or a person. Take another 5 seconds. I'll read this last one. This one's hitting me right now. By the way, every time I teach this, every time I do this, I do my best to not repeat experiences. So this is a brand new, I've seen this line a million times, but I'm trying to have a new experience every time. So this last one, this is The Great Gatsby. You've heard of that, the great American novel. This is the last line of The Great Gatsby. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. I'm visualizing a rowboat from the camp I went to when I was 13 years old, Camp Sequoia, upstate New York. And ooh, it's fun because I like visualizing that. And I'm visualizing this red rowboat getting pushed backwards. And I can work with that. So if you have one of these that reminded you of something in your life, I know it's kind of vulnerable and tricky. People need to be trained to do this. A lot of times people are trained to like not get personal. When you're reading, it helps to get personal. So drop it into the chat and I'll take a look. It'd be cool to see some of those. So what is personalizing? It's tying it back to you. The human mind is created to be most interested in the you-centered experiences. Egocentric experiences, you can call them. So if you put yourself in the middle, it's going to be more interesting. You're going to stop getting bored. Okay, chapter 4 has 3 moves: parsing, linking, and defining. I love these moves. I'll show them to you in a second. They're much more technical. I'll pause for a second. I'll just make a point. These 2 moves, world making and personalizing, it's kind of it. Like, if you can do those 2, you're a very good reader. The other stuff is technical. Like, I'll give you like what happens when I get stuck or I'm dealing with a really hard passage. I'll give you those moves. But like, if you just take those 2 moves away and apply them to everything you read from here on out, it'll change your life. You know, in school, when you get assigned a reading and you do those 2 things, this will make it more fun and more interesting. So questions about that, I'll just pause for a second because I just really want you to embody and take in what I'm putting out there. Great reading isn't that complicated. And it starts with those 2 moves. That's what I'm saying. Questions about anything I'm putting out there. Cool. Yeah, Martin, great world making there. Yeah. AJ brings up a good point. I'm having a hard time connecting it back to me. Like, it's hard for me to find experiences in my life about it. I hear that all the time, AJ. I hear that all the time, and this needs practice for you. Some people are open books and like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this and this. For AJ, and I really appreciate you sharing this. A lot of my students have this issue, and it needs practice. It doesn't, like, let's go back and just look at, like, I'm not saying, AJ, you need to have experiences of wandering and like the universe. Like, it doesn't have to be specific, but have you ever been lost in your life? I bet you have. And maybe that reminds you, and just notice what's going on in your mind. I say the word lost, and I think about these woods in Long Island where I grew up, and now I'm just remembering, oh yeah, I was lost there once. So it's just these little connection points. It doesn't have to be a perfect fit, right? I just used a connection point for this F. Scott Fitzgerald line isn't really about boats, it's about people. But I used the connection point of boats from my sleepaway camp um, to launch off into like understanding this. So it doesn't need to be a one for one, like, oh, this reminds me of exactly this experience. It just needs to remind you of something. And this is a skill that can be practiced. So keep working at it. I posted a reading list. I'm going to post some more resources in the school community. If you're part of the school community, you'll get them for free. Everything in there is free. And it's just something like, be aware that I'm not personalizing, and you kind of need to personalize to be an elite reader. All right, so let's look at the more technical moves. So parsing, I love this move. Parsing means taking big chunks and breaking them down into smaller pieces. Taking big chunks, breaking them down into smaller pieces. So read this. This is a pretty challenging proverb. It's an African proverb. I love it. Until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. I read this, guys, and my head is spinning. I have no idea what this means. If you feel the same way, well, join the club. Great. Welcome. It's a good club to be part of. I'm here. I get perfect scores on the digital SAT. It's no problem. What happens next? What happens after my head starts spinning? Well, I break it down into smaller pieces. So until the lions, okay, so I guess we're talking about like literal lions. I'm visualizing lions in Africa, maybe 5 of them, have their own historians. I'm laughing at the thought of like a lion wearing an academic hat and like having a ruler, whatever like a historian looks like to me, and there's an X through it. Like, lions don't have their own historians. The history of the hunt. Okay, so I'm picturing a textbook called The Hunt. Will always glorify the hunter. Oh, okay. Will always glorify. It'll always make the human with a gun look really good. Oh, I see what this is saying now. Until lions are able to tell their side of the story, history is going to say the humans were glorious, but lions wound up dying, y'all. And oh, interesting. So it's kind of an interesting point. That in real time is, I am doing world making there and I am personalizing there, but this is parsing because I'm breaking things down into smaller chunks. A lot of my students will say, like, Dan, if I have to reread, that means I'm a bad reader. Could not disagree more. If you are rereading, you're a great reader. I'm not rereading all the time, but especially on tough lines, tough text. I'm often not rereading a full text on the digital SAT, but lines for sure. And parsing helps with that. So I, again, am going to give you, let's say, I don't know, 90 seconds feels right. Try these. They're all hard. These are all high level texts and famous texts. Try breaking them down into smaller pieces one by one. Start with the first one. If you finish it, keep going and see if you can get meaning from breaking long sentences down into smaller pieces. 90 seconds on the clock. Good. Keep going. Take another 30 seconds, and then the chat is hopping. So I'm going to respond to some things in the chat. I'm loving your guys' comments today. Thank you. Okay, good. So, some good stuff in the chat. Cole mentions, so basically, great reading is making it more enjoyable for yourself. I wouldn't say it's what, like, that is part of it. It's not like, yeah, just enjoy it and you're going to be a great reader. But I do think that helps kind of lube the wheels a little bit, Cole. So, yes, if you can make it enjoyable for yourself, you'll start reading more closely. You'll start parsing. You'll start doing all the things I'm talking about. So, I highly recommend that. Osama told us he once got lost for 4 hours when you were 8. That sounds scary. I bet. I don't know who was in charge of you. I bet they were scared too. Cole also said, wow, that actually worked pretty well for me. I love it. Yeah, this is good stuff. I have spent a long time thinking about this, tens of thousands of hours working with kids. This works. So please give it a try. I'm glad it's working for you, Cole. That's awesome. Do you have any science passages I can read? Yeah, we're going to do science passages 2 weeks from now. So today, we're just going to dip our toes in like the reading process. Next week, we'll go a little deeper, and it'll be 2 weeks from now. We do sciencey passages. So they're coming. I know it's a big part of the test. The fundamentals are the same. A lot of people, when they read science passages, their brains shut off and they get bored and they get angry. I want to start for, science passages can be pleasurable too. Okay, good. Osama, it seems like you said you're lost, but you get the last one. Yeah, I'll model one of these in just a second. But the idea, I hope, is clear. Like, take big ideas. Yes, you start lost. Like, that feeling of being lost, Osama, is one I feel all the time. I'm just very confident in my reading ability, so I stick with it. Like, I take a deep breath and parse. I'm parsing. Okay, cool. Yeah, Arda, do we have to do all these techniques manually? Yeah, there's no machine that makes you do all these. So that's the trick. I mean, I'm giving you 5 things to do simultaneously. It's like juggling. It's hard, but it's doable. If you can do these 5 things that I'll get to today, we're already at number 3. All at once, you're an elite reader. You've done it. You've done it. So yes, you have to world make, personalize, parse, and do the other 2 things, which I'll mention in just a second. So I'll parse real quick. We'll get to the last 2, and then I'll take any questions, and maybe we'll look at a digital SAT passage if we have the time. Okay, so I don't know. We are the miraculous. I'll do the third one. I like this one. We are the miraculous. I think this guy's talking about humans. I don't know. I'll change it if it's not. But so I'm thinking we are the miraculous. I'm envisioning humans wearing like gold jumpsuits and crowns, and me and my wife and my daughter and my dog. We are the miraculous. My dog's a human, by the way, if you didn't know. The true wonders of this world. I think he's just kind of restating here, like we are badasses. So that's what I think is going on so far, and I'm world making and parsing at the same time, and I'm personalizing. That is, so he's going to restate. He's like going to say, go a little further here. We are not waves. We are the ocean. Fitting. I don't know if I showed you guys this. I'm actually in Montauk, New York right now. I'm looking at waves. What does that mean? We are not waves. We are the ocean. Okay. We are not waves. Waves are kind of smaller, rough, scary. We are the ocean. And I zoom out and I'm like, oh, we humans are not these scary, rough, small things. We are the massive, beautiful, calm, serene, powerful ocean. And man, reading this in these last 20 seconds, I feel proud to be a human. And I don't know if he's talking about humans or Americans or other, I have no idea. But that's what good readers do. They parse to have an experience. I enjoyed that experience. So what's parsing? Here's my, as you guys notice, if there was an SAT for art, I would not get a 1600. But the idea here is you take big pieces and you break them down, big into smaller, into smallest. If you read a full paragraph and it doesn't make sense, start with the first sentence. If that doesn't make sense, start with the first couple words. And rereading is absolutely encouraged. Okay, move 4. Defining. I love this move. A huge complaint I get, especially I know a lot of our community here is international, which Joseph and I love. We're so happy to be connected with people from Nepal and Kazakhstan and Russia. It's a blast. A lot of people complain that their vocabulary isn't good enough to do well on this test. Think about that. Is that you? Is your vocabulary a problem? And I'll be honest, it's hard to get an 800 or like a 780 without at least a solid vocabulary, right? And I mentioned it last week, and I actually got that discount code for you guys for if you're looking to improve your vocabulary. If you're looking to improve your vocabulary, there are some flashcards that our buddies at GrowthWise put out. If you really, your vocabulary is a major problem, and you want a resource to get it better, I'll share with you these GrowthWise flashcards. I'll post in the school community a 20% discount code. This might be a good place to start. There's the digital SAT vocabulary flashcards. There's also math flashcards too. So I'll post that discount code. But before I do, I just want to say, for the majority of you, unless your English is really kind of rocky, vocab isn't majorly important if you are using this tool. What does this tool mean? On the next couple of slides, I'm actually removing the word. So forget not knowing the word. I've removed the word, and I want you to explore this muscle that you've got of inferring what the word means. So in earlier epochs of history, you find almost everywhere a complicated arrangement of society into various orders, comma, a blank of social rank. This is really hard. This is probably an 800 level, maybe a 780 level sentence. So let's read it together. In earlier epochs of history, I'm parsing here. Epic, maybe I don't know the word. It must mean like a block of history. In earlier blocks of history, we find almost everywhere a complicated arrangement of society into various orders. And it looks like he's restating this, a blank of social rank. So whatever this word is must mean complicated arrangement into order, like an order of social rank. So my guess, I don't even have a word here, but I'm using this tool by being a good reader. I'm picking up on what this word means, an order of social rank. So here's what I did. I picked 3 sentences from 3 famous books. Charlotte's Web, probably the easiest. Clockwork Orange, definitely the hardest. Metamorphosis in the middle. And I've changed the words. I've taken the tough word and I've literally made up a gibberish nonsense word. These are not English words. I want you to pick one. Again, easy, medium, hard. I want you to pick one and see if you can guess what the word means. I'll give you a minute to do that. Take 10 seconds. Okay, so let's go through these. Wilbur didn't want food. He wanted love. He wanted a friend, someone who would play with him and be absinthe. Absinthe isn't a real word, but if you read that, it has to mean like nice or friendly. That's the only thing that word can mean if you're using this tool. Franz Kafka, one morning when Gregor Samsa woke from troubled dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a blank insect. I don't know, maybe disgusting insect, scary insect, large insect. Those are all possibilities. I think this one's less clear, but the idea is that you should guess. You shouldn't just ignore the word. And then I love this last one. If you feel like you're a good reader, you're looking for a challenge and like a mind-blowingly good book, the book of Clockwork Orange is awesome. It's also made into a movie. It's kind of dark. I should probably offer a trigger warning. There's like murder and kind of dark things happening. But the author made up a language. Anthony Burgess made up a language, and he actually uses these words. Droogs, that's the real word from the book. It's not. You have to kind of guess as you're reading. And my point is, here are the answers, by the way. Cordial, verminous, and these are actually the real words from A Clockwork Orange. And I bet a lot of you might have gotten to these words and been scared of them, and be like, I can't understand this. Let my brain shut off. Don't stop thinking. Don't stop trying and reading just because there's a tricky word. That's the whole point of this. So what is defining? You take this word that looks like algebra to you, looks like nonsense, and say, oh, that word must mean nice. Cordial must mean something like nice. That's the next to last move. Let's move on to the last one. The last one is called linking. And again, I did not take it easy on this group. I queued up some slides of text that is really hard. This is, I think, wow, this is probably 750, 800 level reading. What the hell is linking? Linking means keeping track of pronouns and transition words. What are pronouns? He, him, she, that. They're a bunch. They're words that refer back to other nouns. And we talked about this a little bit in, I think, week 2. And this, if you don't use linking on this, you get lost. I'll give you 15 seconds to read this very difficult couple sentences. And if you're reading it in a British accent in your head, I am too. Nice. All right. So what's going on here in the quaint village of Brompton? And again, I'm doing all these other moves. I just like naturally do these. So I'm visualizing this like nice little British town. During a bleak winter's evening, okay, it's cold, Mr. Worthington confided in Master Charlesworth. Okay, so there's two characters here. Let's say Worthington has a monocle and is tall and skinny. Charlesworth is short and fat and smokes a pipe. And I'm just saying this to make a point. There's two very different characters in my mind. That his proposal for the parish festivities was indeed commendable. Who does his refer back to? His is a pronoun, and you have to decide, does it refer back to Worthington or Charlesworth? And I don't know right now, so I'm going to relook at it. Mr. Worthington confided in Charlesworth that his proposal for the parish festivities was indeed commendable. I think it's Charlesworth so the short, fat guy with a pipe, his proposal for the parish festivities was commendable, yet he harbored certain misgivings concerning its execution. I think he refers back to Worthington. And what does its refer back to? Its. Well, what does its refer back to? Oh, I guess it's his proposal for parties. Now, I'm doing this at a very high level. If you're like, what is he talking about right now? This is an 800 level passage. And yes, you have to track his, he, its throughout. Here's an actual, this is also a really hard passage from the old SAT. Here's an example of like another passage where if you don't use linking, you're not going to keep up with it. Like there's so many pronouns here. They, who does their, they, it, who do all these pronouns refer back to? What's going on here? And my point is, great readers are using linking. So they see he, she, they, the character written. That generally refers back to someone. Which character? Well, it had to have been established. And transition words, that move is called linking. Okay, so let's put this all together in our last few minutes here. I want to at least get through this reading toolkit by the top of the hour. We're kind of there. So what do great readers do? What do elite readers do? Someone in the chat asked, do I have to manually do all of these? I don't know that there's a way to not manually do all of these. And it does seem intimidating at first. But that's why you're in this course, and that's why you've got some of the best help on the planet to help you through this. Doing these 5 things on every text will make you better. So when you're reading something, do these 5. We've got world making, we've got personalizing, we've got parsing, we've got defining, and we've got linking. Those are the moves. So I'll kind of just show you all of these in action on one last text. It's a very, very famous poem. It's not from the digital SAT. It easily could be. There's a lot of poetry on the digital SAT. And next week, we'll dive deeper into the poetry. We'll dive into the questions, how to answer the questions. For this week, it's just about the read. This might be the most famous poem of all time. I have trouble thinking of one that's more famous. It's called The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. This is how long it is. It's 4 stanzas of 4. So it's 4 stanzas of 5 lines. It's 20 total lines. That's the whole thing. And it's super famous. And I'll just do a couple lines of this. And if you want to practice this, you can easily Google this and practice it on your own. But let's have an experience here. And I encourage you to do the same. So take a moment. I know I'm going to read something challenging and try and have an experience. I kind of automatically sit up straight and take a deep breath. The Road Not Taken. I read the title. I think about a quiet road in the woods. I'm thinking about my summer camp again. I'm thinking about the woods in my summer camp, and there's a road. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. Okay, so now I'm envisioning a forest at my summer camp. So I'm world making and I'm personalizing, and the forest is full of yellow trees. How interesting. I don't see a lot of yellow trees, but all the trees are yellow. Maybe that means it's fall. Maybe that means it's autumn. And I'm seeing 2 roads. One is a concrete road and one is a dirt road, to keep them separate. Okay. And sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. In poetry, by the way, you generally read till the next punctuation. So you notice I read through the line all the way to the comma. And sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. Okay, so I'm envisioning myself at where the 2 roads split. And I find myself making a frowny face because I feel sorry. So I make a frowny face because I can't split my body in half and travel both roads. I'm only one traveler, so I have to pick. And let's see how that makes me feel. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. So now I'm seeing myself leaning forward down the one that's not paved. And I'm trying to feel it out. I'm rubbing my chin. I'm looking at it as far as I can. I can't see the end of it to where it bent in the undergrowth. So I'm seeing that dirt path curve. And there's lots of plants that I can't see through. And I'm off to a great start. I'm enjoying this. Now, I know a lot of you are like, well, nothing's happened yet. Well, we haven't read the whole poem, guys, and we're kind of out of time. This poem's epic. And honestly, not a lot happens. But it's not on him. It's not on Robert Frost to make things happen. It's on you. And I guess that's where I'll leave it, is the whole point of today, which I've dubbed the most important session I'm going to teach, is have an experience when you're reading. That generally means slowing down, and it generally means using these 5 moves. You saw me do it. It's not that, it's hard, but it's not that complicated. Reading boils down to just being present, having an experience, trying to connect what's being put out there, not getting distracted when you don't know a word, not getting distracted by other thoughts. It's very meditative. It's very, very meditative. And it's important, as you all get better at this, to be reading good stuff. So I posted in the school community, which I'll pull up right now. I posted I think I put it under goodies. Oh, goodies, I put the grammar skills worksheet. And in the training grounds for verbal, where to start on reading, a great reading list. I love this reading list. If you want to start reading good stuff that's going to make you a better reader, good places to practice the 5 moves we talked about today, take your pick. You can pick a poem, which are about 5 minutes. You can do a short story, 10 to 20 minutes. Oh, this first short story, The Egg, I love that. There's a famous YouTube video that is the short story with animation. It is a really good place to start. And then there's articles, which are longer. So think about what excites you, what would be fun for you, and try these out. You've got to dive in. Reading can be the hardest section on the test for some people because they refuse to dive in and do it. You must be reading more to get an elite score on this test, and I hope you do, and I hope I can help you. So I'll leave it there. I'll respond to anything in the chat. Jose, if you want to say anything, or should I just go straight to the chat?
You can jump straight to the chat. I just want to say thank you, Dan. That was amazing, and that was a lot of information. I've never heard anything like that. So that's really special, guys. Especially, look, man, I've been working on this test for a long time. Obviously, I'm on the math side, but that was just really, really excellent stuff. So I hope you guys were able to soak that up. And by the way, show Dan your appreciation if you could. If you haven't clicked that like button, make sure to click that like button. Put something in the comments that just tell us, Dan, hey, what you thought of the lecture. Did you find it useful? Did you find it helpful? Which I'm sure you did, and that'd be awesome. And then, Dan, I'll let you go and jump into the chat. Go for it.
Love it. Great questions, guys. It energizes us. I'm sure Jose feels the same way. When we get good questions, we feel like, yeah, we're engaging with you guys. So keep them coming. Don't be bashful. Cole said he's memorizing suffixes, prefixes, and roots. I think it's a good place to start. Someone, D&G Tutors asked, is it necessary to cram 1,000 words in their meaning before the exam? I don't think so. People with great vocabularies generally have an easier time than people with bad vocabularies. I think my rec to this group, there are people joining us from all over the world. If English is not your first language and you feel like you just need like a list and you want to lean into your work ethic to get a bunch of words in your brain as a foundation, I think it could be a good fit. If English is your first language and you feel like your vocabulary is pretty good but not excellent, I don't think I would start with cramming 1,000 words. I would not do that. The growth-wise vocabulary set, the thing I like about it is words, but it's also words in context, and it's kind of like quotes from great books that are actually kind of fun to read and like really good wisdom in there. So that's why I recommend that set. If you don't do the vocabulary cramming thing, then prefixes, suffixes, roots like Cole's doing, I like it. Okay. I get it. Envisioned it. Seems simple. Yes. Osama, yes, you're personalizing. I just remembered a scene from Mr. Bean. It's so fun to go into your mind and see what's kicking around. I haven't thought about Mr. Bean in years, but like something you read today reminded you of that, Osama. Use it. Use it. Ash, thank you so much for your efforts. My pleasure. It's our absolute pleasure to serve you. And let's see. The poem. Oh, Martin used this poem. It is National Exam in Kenya is this poem. Classic. The digital SAT is calling upon lots of super famous poems, and it's a great way. I'll mention this in the future classes as we start getting to really tricky digital SAT reading passages. Learning to read poetry is great practice for this test. You kind of like, if I were doing one thing to summarize, like preparing for the digital SAT reading, it would be getting good at reading poetry, and it kind of encapsulates everything else. All right. Martin, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for the kind words. I'll leave it there. Much more to come, guys. And in some ways, this was the week where I gave you the least info. In some ways, it's the week where I gave you the most important info. So chew on those 5 moves. I'll see you in the school community. Let me know how else I can help. I'll see you all next week.
Thank you guys so much for joining. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to click that like button. And last but not least, if you haven't subscribed and you're just watching, make sure to click that subscribe button so you can see up-to-date posts for like new videos and all that stuff. But the most important thing, Cole says 3 weeks left. That's right. The most important thing, and I'm going to post the link one more time. If you guys have not yet joined the school community. I think we're at like 250 members or 200, something like that, just over 250 members. So make sure to click this link right here. Everything is totally free when you join. Plus, you can get the slides, you can get the class replays, you can get all that good stuff. So it's super amazing. I'm just going to read this last comment. And Cole says, thanks, by the way, from Abana. Thank you so much. He says, will you dive into specific types of questions of the reading and writing module?
Yes, absolutely. Today was just about reading and having experience. The next 3 weeks are going to be specific types of questions, specific types of passages, like the sciencey passages. But yeah, questions like what is the function of the underlined part? Like all of that, I will mention more specifically in the next couple of weeks. Today was so important that I really wanted to slow it down and focus on the process of reading before we get to the questions. But I will get there. I got you, Abinet.
All right, I think Dan's got to run. But last question, Osama wants to know, Dan, when you're dropping a song.
I was in a band in high school. It was not SAT themed, but after watching Josefa's videos, I soon by the end of this course, Osama, it's popping. Something's gonna happen, especially with all these AI tools out there. I feel like we could do something really really special.
That's true. That's true. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. We are down 4 of 7. We just got 3 weeks left. Let's go. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you in the next one. All right. Take it easy.
Bye, guys.